Can you explain the rationale as to why we would take your recommendation on the refunding?
Well, in order...
Because there's some savings there, right?
Well, let's put it this way. The 2001 bonds were capital appreciation bonds, and their rates are high at 5.6%. And we're going to be refunding them at a lower rate, in the 4% range, but we are stretching them out because we need room to pay interest on the newer bonds. So it's not a savings per se, because we are stretching that debt out. The question really is, the need and the challenges you're facing right now. We can go out less than 20 years and reduce the size of that refunding, or get rid of it altogether and maybe get $5 million or $7 million, something like that. So I'll run that number, and it'll be good for you to consider, but you need to look at your overall picture. What are your needs? What are your facility needs? What are your cash flows? Cash flows are really front and center right now in the state and their province, and the delay of Cook County taxes.
If we pass the resolution before us tonight, that can be adjusted prior to moving forward. What you're suggesting here is the one that would maximize, but that can be adjusted. Okay. Other comments?
Actually, again, just regarding our bidding policy, and Marilee, I appreciate you bringing the other two issues to us to ask for a waiver, basically, by deferral. This one, we're not. I mean, we're not having any other firms come in with proposals or options or anything else. I have a concern about that because, again, we have one-horse race to the end here. So I would like to see it opened up for other options and other suggestions, and just to get better, more information. And I'm concerned that once we start the process, we're not going to slow the process down or stop it. At least, again, I went through this a few years ago with the bonds that we're talking about refunding. So I'd like to get it right before we take those steps, especially for the public, because they have 30 days to do something if they don't like it, and we may not even be telling them what we're doing in the end. So that's very concerning for me, is the process.
Other comments?
I do.
Yeah.
Marilee and Ms. Hennessy, you've heard some of the cons to this whole thing. Are you still, what is your strong suggestion for this? Are you still very comfortable with what you're recommending?
I am, and I just want, the seat that I sit in, I feel like, you hired me to, not to try and lead you down a financial path that is that's a solid one. And school districts really don't have many places to go when they need more money. And I do believe, we've looked at the financial projections. If we do nothing, and of course we won't do nothing, but if we were to do nothing, next year we start deficit spending, and it goes downhill very rapidly. So, in my opinion, I think that to set this district, and we have a really good opportunity right now, because at the end of this fiscal year, we're going to be in very, very strong financial shape for a very short period of time. But we're going to have a nice cash balance, a nice fund balance. It's a good stepping off point for future financial security. I truly believe that a $10 million working cash fund and the rest of the money put in capital improvements to continue to fund those improvements that need to be done to our schools. And while you haven't seen long-term what continues to need to be done, I'm sure over time there are many things we could be doing to improve our buildings, and we could use that $15-16 million. So I'm very comfortable with the recommendation that I've made. I feel that it's my duty to bring forward, and then as a board you need to get comfortable with how you want to move forward. I think the other point I wanted to make, and Liz, you can respond too, but adopting that resolution tonight or passing the resolution doesn't obligate the board to really do anything. It merely gives us the opportunity to continue to explore our options. I mean, if we do nothing with it, if we end up doing nothing with it, that certainly would be your choice. But if you adopt that tonight, we can continue to move forward and explore all our options as far as selling bonds.
But the public doesn't have an option to stop it after the 30-day period from tonight if we adopt the resolution.
That is correct. I mean, they have their 30-day window.
Right, but
Right.
Other comments?
One question. In this time with the Build America bonds, how important, you mentioned something about timing, and it might be extended, it might not. In our most recent history, this has not been an option. How important is it for a Board of Education to consider that as a part of securing a financial future?
Well, I think it is a really unique opportunity. I mean, we've never seen issuers be able to take advantage of 20-year debt around 3%, between 3 and 4%, well under 4%. I mean, we've never seen long-term debt with that kind of return. If we go to when we go to 28% and this thing is extended from 35% down to 28%, it's widely thought that the tax exempt and the Build America option will be much more equal. It won't be a clear-cut decision to go for the Build America bond every time. So, it is a very nice opportunity for investors.
So the window on that interest rate is through the end of this year, and then would expire. Are there districts around us that have done this? That you're familiar with?
Yes, there's many districts that have done it. I'm trying to think about Cook County District. Most recently, we completed a LaGrange Park School District 102, did $5.5 million, and a much smaller debt service extension base than you. But they also did a similar option to this because of the huge backup of capital projects that they needed to get done. The bonds that you do for the working capital cannot be done as Build America bonds. Refunding bonds cannot be done as Build America bonds, only construction. So,
You may not be familiar, but I think I've heard that the Village of Palatine's taken advantage of the Build America bonds program. Are you aware?
I am not aware of that, but I would not be surprised.
Oh.
I anticipate also a huge rush to market in December.
No.
We all are before this expires.
I thought of another question because you've been up here too long, so. And I think taking advantage of the Build America bonds is a great plan, and we should absolutely take advantage of that to this extent that makes sense for our district. In the proposals that you put forth, you took the lump sum, whether it was 26 or 32, and split it into working cash and capital. It seems a little bit arbitrary. I'm not sure why you split it the way that you did, so could you explain that?
Sure, and it's just working with Merrill Lee and looking at the district's cash needs and its current fund balances, and anticipating the late taxes and the challenges that you're facing. And Merrill Lee said to me the other day that may not be enough. So it was really an arbitrary split. We can look at it, 12 million for the operating fund and the balance for capital. We can really split that any way you want, but that was
just a quick comment again. On the Build America, I'm not as averse to those. Again, I'm disappointed that, we didn't make good business decisions to get to this point to need those. But I think, for capital, I'm not as opposed to, that type of funding. It is a good rate, and as long as we do the projects in a timely manner, I'm not opposed to that.
Okay. Liz, thank you very much.